Okay, this is the summit of the first climb, and now a bit of single track, which is always fun on a cyclocross bike. This is called Highbury Fling, and we must be careful on this, not go too fast, because this is a two-way trail, so there could be people coming up. I'm now heading down to Arrow Valley, where I'm going to be dropping off an order for a customer. Oh, hi there. Yep, that's exactly what I'm meaning. Got to be alert, watching out, ready to brake at a moment's notice. This is really good cornering and bike skills practice, doing this on a cyclocross bike. And by the way, when cycling, there's always the no skid rule. Braking should be balanced front and rear, weight distributed such that you can brake very, very heavily, very quickly on a dime without skidding. When you skid, you lose that braking power. Okay, and that comes through even braking, but also if it's really slippery, gravelly stuff, you might pump the brakes rapidly and gently. And just remember that the majority of braking power comes from your front brakes, your front wheel, not your rear. When you're braking really heavily, you distribute your weight backwards to try and keep some weight on the rear wheel, but under the heaviest of braking, particularly downhill or going into a corner, the back wheel may in fact lift and therefore be contributing close to zero to braking power. Just saying. And occasionally, if I'm on a blind corner, I will call out brake, bike, not brake, bike. Well, hopefully the person coming the other way will brake, but no, I'll call out bike if I'm on a blind corner, such as here, bike, there we go, just so that people are warned, so that they can take evasive action if needed. Thou shalt not crash. Crashing is not recommended. But crashing inevitably happens when on a bicycle. Even if you're ambling your way to the dairy, it's sometimes the most hazardous way to ride a bike, or place to ride a bike, or time to ride a bike. So watch my video, just Google or YouTube, my YouTube video, Gary Moller, how to fall off a bike. And you'll also see videos about, for example, how to brake safely and descend down steep hills on a bicycle. I think I can say I've got a bit of authority, given that I've won 5 Masters mountain biking and World Championships, so I think that gives me a certain qualification to speak with a small element of authority. So I'm going to do a bit of a urban cyclocross ride today, basically riding hard up and down hills around Wellington City. With all its hills and that, it's the perfect place for so-called urban cyclocross. And on the way I'm going to be doing some deliveries to clients. My courier service for same day delivery. So this is my warm-up climb. Basically up to the Brooklyn turbine. Looks like the bus is having trouble doing a start going up the hill. Oh dear. Come on mate, you can make it. It's the challenge of driving buses in Wellington City. Bit steep for the old bus, eh? Just as well it didn't have a full load of passengers. There we go. You go through. There we go. Yep. Always got to be courteous on a bicycle as much as possible. And the general rule is downhill always gives way to uphill traffic. That's the rule of thumb on trails. If you watch any of my videos on cyclocross racing, I'll be posting more. I think there's only one or two. Just go to YouTube, Gary Moller, cycling, cyclocross, that kind of thing. You will come across a video on how to corner on a bicycle. And if you watch my cyclocross races, you'll see that I tend to make up ground almost always on corners and technically challenging bits of course. And that's no accident. It's because I constantly practice those skills. Riding a bike like this one on technically challenging terrain and being very efficient at braking and cornering. And when it comes to racing, it certainly gives me an edge on riders who have got more horsepower and more heart rate to play with than a pensioner such as myself. Is that the right way of saying it? Tactfully. Now it may seem to be a little bit over the top when it comes to bicycle skills, but it really is worth going for perfection of skills, regardless of your current level of skills. And one of the things to emphasize as you go around a corner, particularly a sharp corner, is you have the outside foot, in this case my left foot, on the outside, at the rear I should say. So here I am, my right foot now is at the rear. This is very slippery, and now I'm pedaling, and then I'm coming into a corner. So again, my outside foot is at the rear. Here I go again, my left foot is at the rear. And the other thing is the bicycle cranks, the pedal cranks, are held parallel with the ground, level with the ground. So and this way you can unweight the seat, shift your weight backwards and forwards. And just one other point, when you stop, always when you're on a slope, you always take the outside foot, the uphill foot. So in this case because the slope is off to my left, I will use my right foot. If I was coming the opposite way then, and I was to stop, then my left hand foot would be out. So as I ride, I'm constantly shifting my foot position. So here I am again, then I pedal, and I'm going left, so oops, there we are, straight ahead. And so I'm constantly changing my pedal position. There we are. So my right foot's now go to my left as the trailing foot, and so on and so on. So it's going to be my right foot now, even though I don't really need to change anything. Now left foot, and we just keep going. And if I ever had to stop suddenly, such as here, it'll be my right foot that comes out. On here it could be left or right, but now it would be my left foot that comes out. So I'm going to stop, and there's my right foot, my left foot out, and then I can push off, keep stability. If I was to put my downhill foot out, the one on the downhill slope, in this case it would be my right foot now, I'd risk tumbling down this, losing my footing and tumbling down the bank, which would not be pretty. It would be rather embarrassing, wouldn't it? So there we go. And always changing the foot position depending on the cornering, and also getting ready if necessary to stop suddenly, take evasive action. And here we go. And by the way, the faster you go, the further you look forward, you look ahead. So when you're going really fast, you look way ahead. Here we go. Well, I've just done my delivery, and on with the ride. Got quite a bit to do, but I risk running out of daylight, but we'll see how we get on. So a bit of leg strength and stability. Oh, this is going to be hard work. Up these stairs all the way, 2 steps at a time. It's the only way to get fit. There's engineered to get out of one's comfort zone on a regular basis. And then body and mind responds by growing a little stronger, a little more resilient. I'm heading down into Karori now after a good fast hard climb. Got to be very careful. And watching out for anybody opening up car doors. And also you've got to brake before the cars in front brake. Anticipate them braking and then shed a bit of your speed and momentum. And when you're going at the same speed as the motor vehicles, you can take up more of the road space like I'm doing now. There we go. When I was a child, we would all have to sit at the table, our father at the head of the table, and children were seen but not heard at the table. We had to sit up straight, hold our knives and forks correctly, and we had to cut our food properly, put it in our mouths and chew it well with our mouths shut and without talking. If we wanted to talk, we had to speak with the either expressed or indicated permission of our father as we ate our mother's beautiful home prepared meal. When it came to leaving the table, we would ask our father for permission. By the way, if we weren't eating with good manners, if we were speaking while there was food in our mouth, we were never allowed to speak while our mouth was full. We risked a quick whack over the knuckles by the flat of Dad's knife. we knew to behave at the table. Now, at primary school, we're talking about the late 50s, mid to late 50s, when it came to morning and tea, lunchtime, we would have to sit in the quadrangle on the seats and rather quietly eat our homemade morning tea and lunch and drink our bottle of fresh milk supplied by the government from the local farms. And we would have to sit. There was no running around and playing until a bell rang, and then we could run off into the fields and play and scamper around, do all that stuff. Now, I'm saying this because some years ago, a child in a play centre or childcare centre or kindergarten choked to death, I think, on a grape. Swallowed a grape and died. It's very sadly, incredibly tragic. And some years later, after undoubted hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on consultative committees of experts, they came up with the remedy guidelines for all childcare operators. Grapes were to be cut into halves and quarters, and food like apples were to be sliced up into thin slices and microwaved so that they were soft before serving. And it's something that I've witnessed. So there are the kids, morning tea, gobbling on their half grapes, slices of soft microwaved apples, rice cakes, that kind of thing, Marmite sandwiches with margarine, and running around talking, making a lot of noise. Now, that for a start is shocking nutrition. It's basically sugar hits for the kids, no nutritional value of any sort whatsoever, in my opinion. But also the kids are learning very bad eating habits, and in particular running around, speaking lively, yelling, screaming, while there may be food in their mouth. That is a recipe for a complete and utter disaster. Less so if the food's been cooked to death and chopped to death. That's one thing, but there's another thing as well, and that is serving soft foods, not teaching or requiring children to sit and chew their food, as they are almost guaranteed underdevelopment of the bone structures of the jaw and the palate, the facial structures, which can then set them up for a lifetime of orthodontics work, incredibly expensive, but also breathing issues, basically ear, nose and throat issues, and of course the very poor nutrition doesn't help either. The solutions are obvious. I've already told you them in the beginnings of this discussion, and all I can say is we must not forget or lose the wisdom of our elders, wisdom that has been built up over 1,000 years, practices that have served us well, stood the test of time, so you could call them enduring truths, and that even includes the way we eat. It's not just what we eat, it's the way we eat, and it starts with how we teach our children to not only choose the right foods, the nutritious, nutrient-dense foods, but also how we eat them. So I'll leave you with those thoughts. If you've been reading my GaryMoller.com blogs, articles, you'll realise that I've been writing a lot lately about mitochondria and health. We've always known of the critical importance of mitochondria. These are the tiny powerhouse come batteries, the little generators and batteries are found in every single living cell in your body. The more biologically active the cell or the tissue, the greater the concentration of mitochondria. So there are high levels of concentration of mitochondria, and like the skeletal muscles that are being exercised hard, such as my leg muscles here, but also in organs like the heart, the reproductive organs, liver, kidneys, and of course your brain. And what we've increasingly realised is that the spike protein generated in the COVID vaccines, the mRNA vaccines, the spike protein definitely has a negative effect on mitochondrial function, developing a kind of alarm state of mitochondrial damage, dysfunction, and it appears that this can be long-term, and once that state is created, it becomes almost self-regenerating or self-replicating. So a person's damaged mitochondria will remain in this state of dysfunction perhaps well after any mRNA is present. Having said that, there's evidence that the mRNA and spike protein can persist for months and possibly even years, but we don't really know. We're still learning about this experimental miracle drug now. So it's really essential, critical that we look after our mitochondria, which incidentally you inherited exclusively from your mother. It's a maternal gift, you could say, not from your father. And so mitochondrial health is critical to life. The state of your mitochondria pretty much determines your resistance to every disease under the sun, and also ultimately your life expectancy. So you want to have mitochondria which are undamaged, and proliferation of them, and working incredibly efficiently. And what you eat and how you eat is very important for your mitochondria. Basically, if you're on a nutrient poor, sugar soaked or carbohydrate soaked diet, you're not doing your mitochondria any favours. You're at risk of developing what we call mitochondrial inflexibility. And what enhances it is a nutrient-dense diet, rich in fresh natural fats and oils from both plant and animal origin, like butter, cream, the fat on a steak, and then things like olive oil, flaxseed oil, coconut oil, that kind of thing. Those kinds of oils are all very beneficial. And then it comes down to how you eat. If you are putting fuel into your body every couple of hours, which is more or less the norm nowadays, constant snacking, then your mitochondria lose some of their flexibility, their ability to utilize alternative sources than carbohydrates, in other words fats, and your mitochondria become dependent on carbohydrates, which will result in fluctuating energy crashes, hypoglycemia, and all the things associated with it: fatigue, brain fog, anxiety, depression, and just a general lack of stamina. In athletes, you see it in the athletes who need to be constantly cramming carbohydrates, gels and other sugary sources down their throats during training and competition. The key to mitochondrial flexibility is not just a nutrient-dense diet which has lots of these healthy fats and oils, but also to doing what I call the no-snack diet. In other words, having just 2 or 3 meals a day and not snacking in between, and being largely low in carbohydrates, sugars, that kind of thing. Even so-called healthy carbohydrates, such as honey, those should all be limited, and having a diet which is rich in proteins, fats, oils, mostly of animal origin, by the way. is best, but also with, of course, your vegetables and so on. And you can have your carbohydrates, but those should be in the form of vegetables, like pumpkin, taro, squash, that kind of stuff, kumara, bit of potato, beans, peas, etc., and being relatively low in processed grains and very low in things like your box cereals, including most commercial mueslis. Make your own muesli. And by going hungry, or a little bit hungry between meals, you are encouraging your mitochondria to become flexible, being able to switch effortlessly between fat and carbohydrate sources of energy. So of course there's more to it, but that's it for now. That's a good start. Mitochondrial health, mitochondrial flexibility, turning your body into a fat burning machine. Oh, I should add that it takes, if you don't have that flexibility already, if you've been a snacker, going say no longer than 2 hours between feeds, then you need to start slowly, gradually increase the length of time between meals and give yourself the best part of a couple of years of gradually building up that ability to efficiently dig into your fat reserves and maintain very constant, consistent energy levels. So there you go. I'm working my way up a trail from Mekara Peak. It'll eventually find my way to the Korea Sanctuary fence line, which will then take me on to Brooklyn, where I live. This trail is called Salvation. It's the alternative to another track called Deliverance, named after that very famous movie Deliverance. And I don't recommend it for anybody other than hardcore. So you might wonder, why do I do this sort of stuff? Why am I not just curled up in front of the heater with a blanket and a glass of sherry at my age? Well, for a start, I really enjoy the challenge of this sort of thing, and I love getting into the great outdoors, being a true free-range creature. But also in about 4 weeks, which is not far away, I've got the New Zealand Cyclocross Championships, and I've had I think at least a 10-year winning streak in my age groups, and the last few times I've managed to lap the entire fields, and so I'm obviously the man to beat. I'd agree, but I must not allow complacency to set in, so I'm going to train as if my life depended upon it. So when I turn up in 4 weeks' time, I've prepared the best I possibly could. and then if I get beaten, I'll have no excuses, and I'll be the first to congratulate that person who beats me. But I'm not going to make it easy for them. They're going to have to work for it. So there we go. So I've been going for almost 1.5 hours of quite intense non-stop climbing and descending on these sorts of tracks, and I'm feeling a little tired, but at least feel great. This is incredibly good fitness and skills practice doing this sort of training. So that's a 13% grade. I just went up then. So this is a brief respite from the intensity. Another reason why I'm doing this training now is in a couple of months we're planning to go to the Philippines to visit our youngest son and his girlfriend. And it just so happens that the time we're going is when the Philippines has their national mountain biking championships, and I've decided I'm going to enter the marathon championships, mountain bike marathon championships. These events have got UCI certification, so they're going to be serious events, and I've decided I'll enter. I'm hoping that Alofa, my partner, will enter one of the other races. They're going to have more fun races, social events. It's a big long weekend of cycling madness in the Philippines, and I think madness might be the key word there. And mountain bike marathon, even if you're not racing it, is still a serious event and it requires preparation. So this is what I'm doing, starting my preparation now. You can never start too soon. I'm going to build on my fitness so that when I get there I'm going to be ready. One thing we should talk about sometime is heat acclimatization. I'm going to be, of course, superbly heat acclimatized for handling riding 80 to 100 kilometers in Filipino heat. Bike coming. Hi there. Thank you. So I'm heading around the Karori Sanctuary fence line to the wind turbine just to my right. It involves some pretty steep climbing, a bit of descending too, of course. Just got to watch so I don't get caught in the ruts as I go down the likes of this. So steep, gnarly downhill on a narrow tyre, non-suspension cyclocross bike is always interesting as we bounce around, and it's a bit wet underfoot, so I've got to be careful. The tyres I'm using are mud tyres for cyclocross racing, and they're actually very good for these slippery conditions, especially wherever there's any mud. This is going to be the most challenging climb of the day for me, and coming on to 1 3/4 hours of total riding, non-stop, no breaks, and this climb is usually on my limit of climbability, so we'll see how we go on this. It is gravelly, a bit rutted, and I think gets up to about 20-degree incline, something like that, and gets steeper as we go. So we'll see how we get on. Oh, it's already at 23-degree incline. 21, yeah, so it'll probably get close to 30 towards the top. So almost at the top. I've made it relatively easily, actually. I can even talk. So I've made it to the Brooklyn wind turbine, and there's some amazing views of Wellington City. It's starting to get a bit dark though, the camera probably doesn't show that. The sun's going down now, and I've got my lights on. I'm now heading down to Brooklyn Village. This is my playground, Wellington City. Amazing place for the outdoorsy types, for the free rangers. Yeehaw! So to finish me off, we're going up what we call Butt Street. It's one of the steepest streets in Wellington, and I'm going to stomp my way all the way to the top. It is very appropriately named Butt Street. This is perfect timing. It's just starting to get dark and I'm just minutes away from home. One nice hill to drive up, and here we go. Good stuff. Downhill all the way home now.